Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor. Had a fun project pop up just recently, and something is quite different than what I normally do. Had a call about working with a group of young students and artists to do a bird bath. And so they wanted something in granite, and so it's going to be installed in a private garden. And so we went through and did some brainstorming sessions and came up with a bunch of different ideas on what was relevant and what meant something to them, and then worked with some of my experience as to what to do to produce a durable result. So this is what we came up with. Now, this piece of Georgia blue granite that was donated, and I was able to work with the stone. The stone had some damage, so it wasn't feasible to use it for a regular memorial, but I saw potential in it for something like this. So went ahead and broke this off. I'm going to try to put a little bit of video here on the end on some of the process. I took a bunch of video along the way, but this was very much artist discretion. Had a lot of freedom to do this project. So what I did was I went ahead and got rid of the weak parts, and then I did the outline roughly as the shape of South Carolina, because it will be installed here in South Carolina. We used a theme of a mascot paw print. And the idea was, to make it look like the paw had stepped in something soft, and there'd be basins where the birds and the butterflies and everything could get something to drink. It won't hold a lot of water, and so it should help keep it from being as dirty and as much of an issue with bugs, because the water will cycle through hopefully faster than like a mosquito larva cycle will. Went ahead and put the date on it just for reference. Did just some flat square raised letters, very short, instead of doing a V-cut. Didn't want it to look, memorial. Wanted it to look like a fun piece, and so I just freehand drew the letters on, the numbers on, and cut them. Pushed the face back, but then as a little added interest, in the larger basin, put a frog. Went ahead and did frog and clay just as a sketch, just to work it out, to try to get some of the form and anatomical structures figured out, and then went ahead and carved it direct. This actually goes back to even before my apprenticeship. This is something I wanted to do for almost 25 years. When I walked in and met my cousin at my master sculptor studio, before I even knew he was my cousin, he was finishing up a 13-foot tall statue of St. Francis with several animals included. And there was one animal in particular that was a challenge. And down at the bottom, at this fountain with flowing water, the large basin at the bottom, there was a bunny rabbit that was supposed to be drinking, just sipping off the top of the water. And so my cousin had to panel that basin to locate the bunny's mouth. The panel, the surface of that panel, was equal to the overflow on that basin. So when the water was running at the right rate, the bunny would just be drinking out of the water. And his head wouldn't be submerged and his nose underwater, and he wouldn't be standing here above the water. Well, I wanted to take that same concept and turn it around, so I put a frog in here. And this is supposed to be somewhat of a leopard frog, because this is supposed to be a cat's paw print, a wildcat paw print. And so going on that sort of theme as opposed to a bullfrog, leopard frogs tend to be a little more long and slender. But when it's filled, see if we've got this level just right. When it's filled, the only thing that's sticking up is the very tip of his nose, very tip of his nose, with his nostrils, his eyes, and the top of his back, just like a frog typically sets in the water and floats. So we'll work to make sure this is installed at just the right height, level enough. It's just wasted off. It's not anything in particular. I did a quick panel on the back to flatten the joint. But this will should be a nice addition to their garden. And so we'll put some video in on the end of this, but it's just a fun project, something different, get to relax a little bit and do it. And we'll get more into other more consequential work, or work that's got different ideas in it in the near future. But it's should make a pretty nice bird bath. We'll have the 3 basins, or the 5 basins, these big ones with the frog, the smaller ones, and then the surface is just 9-pointed. So this 9-pointed surface should look natural very quickly, and it'll be something that can be filled up on a regular basis, and everybody's pretty excited. So frog in a bird bath. My name's Clint Button. I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculpture Studio, doing fun stuff sometimes, just kind of relaxing and doing a little bit of whimsical. Thanks for coming in. Piece of stone, piece of Georgia blue I've had for a while, but it's big enough I thought we could use it. This is what we're going to use. Do a paw print. But looking at what I've got for a piece of stone here, this is roughly the shape of South Carolina. And so, got a little bit there, and then straight across up here. And this edge, and this is art. This isn't going to be perfect. And then this has got a nice hump here, but this edge here will come off. I'll go across here flat, and then come down in, go over, and then come down roughly like this. so short, you'll be able to see the whole thing, but that's fitting pretty well. The goal with this project is to have indentations like a big paw print, so it's a bird bath. We'll have basins for water and butterflies and stuff like that here to go at a courtyard installation for a school. But I'm also going to do, I want to do a frog. And I want to do a frog where his eyes and nose are just above the surface. So this is for everybody at camp. Remember I came and told you in my studio I had something that sucks up the dust. See this little piece of stone? Goes right up the sucker. A bunch of you asked about this tool right here. Remember? Watch what it does. Remember my big air hammer I showed you? Look at this. That does. Run a key carbon. These are all up to about 1 inch deep. I may go a little bit deeper after I do. I'm going to push this face back 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and so I can leave some material, because if I put the frog right in here, I can have a foot here, a head here, and then have his back legs like this with his eyes and his nose at this surface with his polish. And so that's the goal. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and start working this face back all the way around, push back around these letters, and to give me a little bit of material so the frog's sticking up just about that much. Probably it'll be up to 1/4 inch. So pretty happy. And then I got to flip it over. We'll cut the back off to lighten it up. Moving pretty fast. Got all this pushed back a little 1/4 inch, maybe a little more. Left a small lip around this to make it look like the paw print's pressed into it and it's displacing it. Axe these a little bit. I'll leave these 9-pointed so they're rough, they're textured. Clean that off. cleaned up the edges down to approximately, this will be skinny here, but they shouldn't be too weak. It should be okay. I won't start cutting it back until we get down to about this. I'm going to cut the back of it off. So it's still going to be pretty heavy. A lot to handle, but it's coming well. I'll smooth these up and haven't decided. I like that wide block better than the D. We'll see if I do square cut, just real short ones or not, but I think that'll look good. Now I gotta do a little more, but really need to pay attention to doing a frog. So the frog can sit there and make it look like he's in the water. So, time to stop working on the stone. Got to figure out this frog. So we're gonna wedge up a bat, clean it off, square it all up, and model just a little frog for reference. That looks pretty froggy to me. The point is to have his eyes and his nose and the tip of his head there just above water. And then I want to try to stilt him up just a little bit so he looks like he's not sitting on the bottom. And well, you can't see much of it, but it's there. It'll look like a frog. His eyes are going to be just barely above the edge of that rim, and his nose will be just above the edge of that rim. So, depending on how you fill the water up, and he still has to shrink because he's not done yet, so it'll still tighten up, but he's coming together pretty well. Pretty good, pretty well articulated. Soften this line a little bit, and I'm about ready to start taking the rest of this out. Really important, I want to make his legs look like he's not just a dead frog, and I want to make the depth look like he's full round, so it doesn't look like he's a frog that got run over. I want his feet to just barely agree and touch the background. One of the things that's really important when you're doing something like this to help it look lifelike is to get this ground perfectly even all the way across. So if I just lifted this frog out, it'd be a flat surface. It wouldn't be up one place and down the other, or tipped somewheres and flat somewhere else. Your eye picks up on those things, and that's what makes him look like he's fake. The more perfect this background is, goes all back to producing panels. In those earlier videos, that panel's good. Behind him, the ground's great. It's going to help that frog pop and look like he's just sitting in there, not he's part of the stone. until I find some little detail needs to be picked up. Pretty good. I got to cut this down right here because this is still polished. I'm just going to go down at least an 8, if not close to a 1/4 inch. I'm going to tune all these so they've got just a little bit. Right now they're still kind of fat. I want to lower them a little bit more. That's going to pick him up because the top of his eyes, his nostrils are just about where the polish is. So he should sit just above the water. Pretty close to full round. This I can make real deep. Yep. That's pretty good. And at a glance, it looks like a frog. Very cool. I think the top's pretty well wrapped up. Lettering done. Cut the edge. Just drop the line around it roughly. I'll square it up to even and cut the back off. Well, I'm pretty happy. Now I'll turn it over and cut the back off. Pretty well trimmed off, the bulk is. I'll go over and just rough this up, clean it up, and probably going to set this on the ground in a bed of probably concrete, just a piece of some banked concrete right around here, just to level it up. So having this perfectly flat isn't as critical. We'll just settle it in and let it set. All matches pretty well. Now it's time to just rough this up, clean these edges off, get this extra bulk gone, and make everything nice. My name's Clint Button here at Carolina Sculpture Studio. There's a frog and a bird bath. Thanks for coming in.